So
Yeah.
you guys already started it, and I know that this is supposed to be more of a open session for a variety of different initiatives.
Oh, well, yeah, but sure, this is, I think, just getting the noodling done on that, not to displace the spec team work at all.
Yeah. No, I have a few items to discuss. I wasn't sure
Awesome.
how much time to allocate.
As much as you want, as much as you need.
Okay.
Not sure how many people will dial in. I guess we get them know a couple of minutes.
So we were just chatting, Mark. So
yeah,
it'd been a little while since I've talked to either of you. So hello.
Hello.
Yeah. But yeah, and Shane, I don't know if there's anything. I wanted to check in with you at some point and wanted to see if there's any particular things I could.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I guess right now it's a great time for us to go back and just look at the material. And the simplest part is if something says OpenChain 2, we just need to earmark it so that we can update that to ISO whatever number as soon as we have it done. That would be the super useful kind of thing if you're willing to dig into some of the onboarding and just see that.
Happy to do that. My guess is it's on the GitHub side under the reference material.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that the main stuff anymore?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I was just checking that out.
So I made a quick checklist, release checklist, I guess. And I don't know if you want to start discussing that.
Sure, that would be great.
And again, this is just a draft, and of course we can add items here. So in order to obviously make this launch, we need to do a few things, including posting a copy of the spec, the 2.1 version. I know that you're still waiting for a number, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and you don't have that yet?
Not yet.
Okay. And are we going to have an official targeted date when we're going to make it available?
That is my hope. So what will happen is they'll give us a notice about the official publication, and then we will target an announcement date, either the actual day or another one based on how much work we have.
It might be helpful to pick a date, and hopefully that's well in advance. It's a well ahead of the actual availability, and then we can work towards that date. So for example, I know it was 6 weeks is what they generally felt that we had to wait, and it came out late September. So it sounds like by the first week of December, theoretically it should be available, right? Mm-hmm. Or we could, do you want to choose the target like the first week of December?
Okay, well, that's a really good point. I'd like to do it sooner if at all possible. How about the second week of November, like November 10th?
Okay, if everything is in order. They have that's fine. Let me look at the calendar here. What day of the week is that?
That would be Tuesday. Oh, yeah, exactly 2 weeks from now. But what I need to do is I need to go to, actually the discussion's open. I'm just waiting for them to email me. I need Joint Development Foundation to give me a go day. Once they do that, we can put that as our target.
Yeah, so we'll tentatively say the November 10th, saying it's tentative. So we all start thinking about a particular, milestone date. And then we could obviously move that if we have to.
Right, perfect.
Okay, so I'm going to make a note of that, November 10th for now, tentatively. Now, the other logistical items are the self-certified site. Mm-hmm. Now, I understand a lot of the questions are not going to change, but there are definitely numbering issues potentially. Right. So, well, there will be some changes, but again, I don't believe it'll be material changes. It'll just be kind of like questions in the ordering. So do you have a sense of, is that being, resourced allocated to get that done, or?
Yeah, the discussion is open with Gary on finessing the questions. And I suppose the thing we have to do is to reconfirm what's necessary on the reordering. I've actually opened a thread with our ISO editor, Rex, on this topic. But if you want to help, that would be fantastic.
Well, yeah, I think the we have a numbering in the spec. I assume it's going to not change what we have in the 2.1 version.
Right.
So what we need to do somehow make sure we map the current questionnaire to that numbering scheme, because that's what everybody is focused on when they're going through their specification, right? So
right.
Possibly it sounds like Gary and I should at least sync up. I'm going to make a note of that.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. To see what he needs to do and how I can help with that part. I mean, if you want Rex to join, we can. I'm not sure.
It's not something we have to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then the other thing I was thinking about would be, once it's posted and then self-certification is ready, to have a set of FAQs ready to go. And I kind of drafted some. I started drafting last time. Mm-hmm. I can post them and then give the current draft of those and see if you guys can brainstorm and maybe have an additional set. What would be common questions we would expect from two different audiences, right? There's going to be the people who are already conforming, and everybody's going to want to understand what this means to them, right? If they're already 2.0 conforming. And then the other questions would be, and I'm new to this, and we should redirect them to whatever materials we have. So if you want, I'll go ahead and put that up.
Sure. That'd be really cool.
Okay. All right. So
just pulling up my screen. Yeah, perfect.
So again, these are just some initial questions that I think will direct everybody to who has already conformed with. Mm-hmm. And what are we missing really? So the first one is, what's the official release? Clearly we're tentatively have a date and we kind of have an answer for that. If I'm already complying, how much more work would it be to conform to the next version? And I think the answer is not much. The question really is this addressed by the third question here. Will I need to recertify for 2.1? And I think the answer is yes.
From 2.0?
Yeah.
So the answer could be no, because they've already met the requirements.
Okay, that's good. Now let's discuss that then, because is that I get that should be, we have to somehow make that very clear.
Okay.
So if you're 2.0, you're automatically granted 2.1, and then they can grab the logo.
Yeah, because I mean, they should be meeting all of those requirements.
Right. Okay, and I think that's a good approach, because most people are going to be a little just disgruntled if they have to go through it again when they really don't think there's much. So okay, so let's make that very clear in our materials.
Okay.
And then clearly, I can answer this question by if I'm conforming with 2.1, will I have to recertify? And the answer is no. Your 2.0 and 2.1 will be equivalent. So the answer, there's no real need to worry about the questionnaire changing much, other than making the note that it's really largely about changing how sections map to certain numbering.
Yes.
Okay, so and therefore, yeah. And then the other question is, if I'm new, how do I demonstrate conformance with 2.1 of the specification? And then clearly we'd point them to the onboarding, or whatever materials we would have. We probably should have I guess, Nate, I'm glad you're here. You did the onboarding. Does your material help someone who's the first time here, then they want to just conform with the spec?
Yeah, let's see. That is the idea. And I think getting someone from like 0 to conformance, you know, we kind of saw that there were some steps to get people there, and you need to fill in each of those.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah,
I think David pointed out last time that
yeah.
we should anticipate a little bit of a big burst when people when this goes out and people learn about it and they come to us, and they're going to be a lot of new people. So.
Yeah, I think we probably have some gaps
okay.
to fill, and I think with a lot of the material we had, kind of really focused in on maybe some of the steps. Like there are some people who knew a lot about it and were applying things. I do think there was a little bit of a drop off when it came to, I mean, we told people what we're doing, what the spec is about, what are the requirements, and then there's a little bit of drop off about the application, and that's where some of the work teams started to build around. How do we do this, right? Because it's a little bit up to you. I think that's probably the biggest gap still between, what's the info we have and where conformance is at.
I think we should have some kind of web page that they go to that gets them going, or some starting point, and this question can point them to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
When do you think this big burst of people will come in?
November 11th.
Yep.
I mean,
yeah.
And we could also try our best to take a first pass at it.
Yeah.
And then, as people come, we start, all right, we got to tweak that. We missed that, whatever. It's, we're not going to be thinking, we're not able to think about everything.
What if we had like at least an I'm new page, and then we had some of the materials we have already. And so we kind of start at the beginning, assuming you're completely new, we start there. And then here's what we're about. Here's what you need to do. And then maybe at least we have some pointers to some of the,
I think that would be great,
about how to do it. And so,
let
me see. I can help with that before the 11th. I think,
as a minimum,
as
a minimum, get something up,
yeah,
and that we can evolve as we have as people come.
Yeah.
So there will be one page that, and then we'll point everybody to that new page for the newbies. And by the way, we have to be clear that this is new for the specification. Clearly, when you're new to OpenChain has got a broader mission. We have to somehow make it really clear. And that's one of the things, I don't know how that will happen when people do come and they're looking for an ISO spec and there are other initiatives going on. So we have to be able to, I think this will be a really important page to maybe make that differentiation, say, okay, here where you can start working with conformance towards a spec. OpenChain is a much broader project and has a number of other initiatives. Feel welcome to join those as well.
Yeah. Were we, and sorry if I'm a little behind on one part, but are we doing any additional steps with the self-conformance now that we're an ISO standard?
No.
Or anything?
No. It's the same deal.
Same deal.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Shane, like when I looked at the project like this week, and I'm actually I had to give a 5-minute intro to some internal people on this, and so I was digging around for some material, but I wasn't quite sure where to start, and I can see how coming new to it, you might not be quite sure which button to click on first.
Right.
But do you think, is it doable to get another kind of like a start here page or something like that in this kind of short period?
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to take a lot of the heavy lifting on that as well.
Okay, maybe I will, I'm going to go in and get kind of more acquainted again with the reference material, and then kind of decide what, or maybe make a suggestion about what could be like a basic roadmap, or
That'd
just
be super great.
And then
so,
if we just get a starting page. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, go ahead. Complete your thought.
Right. Yeah, I think if we at least get like a page that kind of leads people through the website content, like learn about us, meet the community might be the first couple things, reference material, adopt the standard.
I think I think that's the thing that I think can be a little challenging.
Yeah.
Because there's a number of initiatives going on, and there's all these working groups. When I suspect there'll be a press release that goes out. There might be articles written about the ISO certification availability now. People are going to come and say, all right, I'm interested in this specification, this ISO thing. Yeah. And I think this page has to be very quickly say, here's where you begin with trying to, conform with the spec. OpenChain is a broader project with a bunch of initiatives that help, along best practices and whatever. Yeah. But here's what you can do to get started with the spec, and then really be that entry point, the front door for the spec.
Yeah, I kind of think of the content in 3 buckets. Like, one is, hey, come learn about this. And so that might be like, who about us, meet the community. Well, maybe put that one for later, but learn about us, etc. Things like that, right?
Sure.
And then the second bucket is adopting the standard. You might need some partners to help you, and then once you're on board, then the third level is, here's all these communities, right, to get involved in. Do you kind of see it that way, or do you see it more as like get involved with the communities first?
I think it's a good first page, but I think if I'm interested in the spec and I want to drill down on the spec, I want to be able to go to a second page, then have this be the front door page for I'm a newbie, right? And again, that's where you can present the big picture. But one of the quickest things they want to do is get to the specification. If that's the case, then there maybe should be a link to a second page. It says, all right, here's what now you're in spec land, and we'll help you, understand the spec and how to get, going in your conformance.
Yeah. Hey, Shane, how do you see like some of the work groups like fitting in? Like, do you see like people coming on new, and then is it best to get them involved in a work group so then that'll lead them toward conforming, or is that something you get into once you conform?
One thing we've found is that a lot of the newer participants have no immediate interest in contributing to, let's say, curriculum or so on. They want to be a consumer of the information, and they tend to stick with the country teams and work on their engagement if they're interested in conformance. So that's really been the key to the stickiness. It's been more localized.
So is it best to kind of lead people toward the working teams, their local working teams early on, and that will kind of hook them in and encourage them toward conforming?
That sounds like I think that's a very good way to put it. If we want to get people attached to the country team so they can get the support they need in their language and culture.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about the problem in a very myopic way. So I'll be upfront about that. I think that it is true that they'll probably take comfort in finding that particular working group that can help them, more, maybe particularly when there's a language barrier. But I'm really want to focus right now about, all right, I have someone who's very serious about the spec and they want to get going on that. That decision's been made somehow. And I want them to have maybe that next page or whatever page to say, all right, land here and go, right? It's like a board game. You kind of jump to that square and then it takes you to the path of the specification. Of course, I think along the way, we can have information about how there are different other groups that can support you, in conforming, or at least let them make that decision pretty quickly that, wait a second, oh, I have a lot to do here yet. So.
Like there's a difference I'm hearing between like, getting people involved in the community, getting them up to speed on what the big picture is versus we need some concrete area of just hard information about the spec, right? About the standard, and then what it is, so you can study it, and then you can just kind of formally move on there. You have a kind of a trusted source, right?
Well, that's what I'm putting that point out there right now. I have a very myopic view of what I'm thinking of and what I need that has to get done. It doesn't mean it's the only thing, but I'm kind of feeling the pain point for someone who's coming on. They've read some article about, or they've attended Shane's presentation. They've learned about the spec, and they want to know what's the gap between where I am and me conforming with the spec? And that's a very, again, myopic view of the problem that OpenChain is addressing. And I want to do whatever it takes to help them get to that point of conformance and support them along that way. Now, there clearly are people going to come that don't want to spend time conforming to the spec. That's not, they just want the training materials, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to worry about that problem right now. I want to worry about this big flood of people potentially that are coming for an ISO spec. Yeah.
Shane, I got some time like later this week here.
Would you like to do a walkthrough call or something?
Yeah, that'd be nice. Let me get some ideas together, and maybe, I don't know if Friday works for you at all, but.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And we could just have kind of a onboarding call or something like that.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Is this time of day is good for you, right?
Yeah, this is good for me.
I'm not sure what does 4 Pacific translate into your time, but I don't know if you would mind an hour earlier.
Sure.
Or 5.
I can get that on the schedule.
Okay. Yeah, if you don't mind.
All right. Yeah, no, let's do it. And
let's do that.
Walkthrough might be a good way to get things done.
Okay.
We could even conceptually say, can we put this at the landing page of the website? That, the website is positioned from first principle that when you land on the first page, we begin the guidance.
Yes, good point. Yeah, we kind of lead people through, especially the new people.
Right.
So, yep.
Yeah, and I don't know to what degree you want to place this is really a new ISO version FAQ. This is not our traditional FAQ. And this is only temporary to help both the people who are currently conforming as well as people who are new. I'm thinking a little less right now about newbies, except for the case where they want to jump in.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, this should be pretty prominent, right? Because there's going to be a lot of, secondarily to the new people, there's going to be people involved already who want to know what does this mean to me. And so,
yeah. Okay.
And so my apologies. I'm going to actually have to drop in about 5. But Shane, would you mind sending me an invite that works for you? Or okay.
I'll send you a calendar invite.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's fine. Shane and I can do a little bit more coordination on the launch. But if there's any other questions you think from your perspective as being a company that's conforming that you think would be needed to be addressed off the top of your head.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I asked one of those, like, hey, do I have to do anything different to recertify?
Okay.
Yeah, these are all really good questions.
Okay. So. All right. If you think of more, we'll obviously be learning more once we roll this out. The questions will come in. Yeah. Okay. So
what's
Shane,
Mark Giesi's phone number so I can call him with questions?
No.
Sure. I get enough spam. What's another call? Then the last question here that I have is, and then maybe Shane, you have some additional thoughts. I know that there's been concerns that we don't want to put out, this idea that this thing is moving, it's changing constantly or going to soon change, right?
Right.
But yet I think it's a valid question to ask is, what's the roadmap of the spec? Now, we don't necessarily have to have that question here right now, but I think we should have that ability to answer that question.
Right.
They want to see, like, do you have your act together? Are you thinking, how are you thinking about this?
Right. And I mean, the main thing is we have to be slow on the iteration. What do you want the roadmap to be? What do you feel is appropriate?
Well, based on our current discussions, recent discussions, it sounds like, okay, roadmap November, we have a 2.1 release. And then we might just suggest that, based on past concerns, say it's a 2022 release. And it doesn't mean we have to release in 2022, right? But that gives people a sense of, Oh, it's out there a little bit. I don't have to, I need to go now and conform with the current spec.
And it still gives them a window to say, okay, so I can get my comments included.
Right. There'll be there's a need for an opportunity to have feedback and ongoing feedback, because quite frankly, I think one of the most important things is to have that ongoing feedback, even though it's years away from our next version, right?
Right.
But especially when people struggle through the process, or yeah.
That sounds like a great idea.
And we might want to just pick a month. We can, and I was thinking April was our traditional month. It doesn't mean it has to be April. It's just, so I'm thinking the roadmap is 3.0 April 2022.
Right. That sounds good. That sounds good.
Okay. So you might want to think about that, and if you ever need a slide, you keep it in your slide deck, in case someone asks, and then, we can talk about what are all the kinds of activities that happen between that time frame of November 2020.
Yes.
Yeah, and 2022. Okay.
That's really good.
Okay. So logistics then, what more do we need to discuss?
Oh, I think, one action item for me is to communicate clearly to people the November 10th potential release date. And we might have to push that forward. Second action item for me is to actually go through with Gary the numbering and then coordinate with you for the updated questionnaire.
Mm-hmm.
And the redo of the first page of the website, which might include both your short FAQ for the essentially ISO release, plus Nathan's redo for redirections to improve what we've got. So it strikes me that's the path forward, right? I think that covers the bases. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll put it to my schedule in the next month, right?
Okay.
Let's see. Wait a second. Next month, November 10th is not that far away, actually. When I think about it.
Nope. Terrifying.
Yeah. And my apologies, guys. I gotta drop. So.
All right. Take care.
No
Nathan.
problem.
All right. Thank you. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think you and I can communicate by email. I'll keep a short list. I'll put it as a priority. I'll take the draft what we have. I'll stick in a kind of a fake number or whatever. I don't think it needs much cleaning up, but I'll give it back to you to have you eyeball it, I guess, and maybe Rex.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you, Mark. That sounds like a plan. Okay.
And then again, we'll meet with Gary. That's really the most critical thing, because I don't think you want to be on November 11th and have, yeah. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.